All right, welcome to today's Society Gal workshop with Heather Logan. We're talking all about setting up your project management system, and Heather is the bomb.com. She is the project manager here at Society Gal, and she does amazing work getting all of our projects together and organized, and she is so talented. So we are so happy to have you, Heather. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, and let's get started.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here and excited to hear about everyone and their businesses as well. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about setting up your project management system in a way that you'll actually use it. I'm sure we've all been guilty of kind of putting this on the back burner, or, getting overwhelmed by your project management software and letting it kind of go to the wayside. So today we're going to address all those things. If you don't have one yet, we'll even talk about different options for you and all that. So excited to jump in. So first, I just want to know like where everyone's joining us from in the chat. Feel free to drop where you're um, coming from. I am in Orlando, Florida, so East Coast time. I believe Dana is over on the Pacific time in California. Also another San Diego, California. Cool. Love it. That's awesome. Fort Myers, Florida. Awesome. We're close to each other. I was just in Miami a couple weeks ago. So awesome. Well, all over. I love it. So what we're going to unlock in this workshop is a project management system that elevates your workflow. So what does that mean? It means that we want it to have an aligned purpose, be confident in controlling what's going in and out of our project management system, and then it obviously being flexible and functional for your workflow. A lot of times we try to kind of fit into a certain mold when it comes to project management systems, and then it doesn't quite work for us, or we run into a hurdle, and then we leave it and let it be, and it kind of just piles up on each other. There's actually a workbook that you guys can download. If you just scan this QR code right here, I'm just going to give you guys a chance to do that. And then you can download the workbook for this workshop and work through it as we go through the steps. And just let me know if with a thumbs up if you guys are all set, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Awesome. Seeing some thumbs up. Perfect. All right. I'm going to move on here. Awesome. So just a little bit about me. I am a systems expert and coach for female business owners. I've been supporting Society Gal for a few months now as their project manager. I'm just really passionate about making sure that we have the right systems in place, but also that they're simple and functional, so they're not overwhelming and they make your life easier, not harder. So it's really important to me. I've worked with over 200 plus business owners in all kinds of capacities as agencies, franchisees, coaches, course creators, creatives, all of that, to ensure that they have the right systems in place to scale. Some of my background, I used to actually work for Disney as a project manager, and now I have moved into doing this on my own in my own business about 4 years ago. I have a background in public relations and political science, and I also have a master's in organizational leadership and project management. And then, of course, you'll hear all about ClickUp later on in this presentation because I'm a verified ClickUp consultant. I'm just a huge fan of the software and the fact that it can replace many tools. But I've used many different softwares, so we won't just talk about that one. There's a lot of different things that we can use to stay organized. All right. All right. So why do you need a project management system? There's a couple of important wise. So we'll start with one. It reduces chaos and keeps you organized. A lot of times when you don't have a central place to keep everything on track, things fall through the cracks. It is inevitable. You get to completely overlook things. You don't really understand your true capacity, especially in this freelance space, or just in general as an entrepreneur. You're not really sure how much is on your plate if you don't have a central location to look at that. So you end up overcommitting to a lot of responsibilities, taking on projects that maybe you're not sure you're going to be able to complete by the deadlines and all of that. So a project management tool is going to keep you on track and also be able to make sure that you are taking the time to have the right capacity for yourself to perform the best that you can. Also, number two, we're going to talk about how it can save you time. Also, you're working smarter. So instead of digging through a million notebooks, papers, post-its, sticky notes, whatever you use to stay organized prior to using a project management system, you are going to have these things all in that central place so that you're not digging around for the details on that project that a client emailed you 10 days ago, or you're, taking, a lot longer to get through the steps of completing said project that you've been doing multiple times, because you don't have a consistent workflow to follow. Or even just delegating to team members, you're not able to delegate because there's no set system in place for them to follow the steps to be able to deliver and help you. And the last thing is you're able to grow without burnout. So as you grow, your work is going to grow too. And with more work, you don't want that to mean more stress. With a project management system, you're going to be able to stay on top of your deliverables, hit deadlines, fulfill your goals, delegate to a team, and more without losing your mind or sacrificing much needed time with family. All right, so we're going to talk about what it means to not have a project management system. Overwhelm and mental load. So all of those things that are staying at your top of mind, so scattered across sticky notes, random lists, you're like, I need to remember to do this one thing. That mental load weighs on you, and it definitely becomes overwhelming as time goes by. Missed deadlines, last minute scrambles, you're rushing to get, you're playing very reactively throughout the day. So if somebody's emailing you like, hey, what's the update on this? You completely forget about the task that you were working on, 30 minutes ago. And then that ends up being backed up as well. So you're not organized enough to obviously make sure that you are prioritizing correctly. You're disorganized and inefficient in your workflow, so wasting time searching for information, emails, project details, communication. You're not able, especially as a team, you're not able to see where a project is in its timeline, if it's not in a project management system. And then again, limited growth. You're not able to scale because there's no system for you to be able to automate, streamline, delegate to others, hire, train people to do the right thing. So I want to ask you all, what are some of your current pain points right now, whether or not you don't have a project management system or you do have one, and you're just kind of struggling with your current setup? Feel free to drop it in the chat. And don't be shy because there's no judgment here. Yeah, using it consistently. Yeah. Yeah, definitely developing that habit of putting everything into it, is something that you have to work at. It's hard to develop that habit, especially if you're so used to playing the reactive game throughout the day. You're kind of like in your flow and you're like, you have kind of have to force yourself to start using it so you can stay on top. So that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Currently using ClickUp, but I need to learn more about how to use it. I currently only use it as a task list. Yes. Yeah, and I know with a lot of project management systems, it can feel overwhelming with how much it can do. With so many robust features, you're like, I don't even know where to start. So I get that. Love Asana too. I've used that. Yeah, not changing it too often. Very organized, but sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I have to try to set a time to sort things. Yeah, it does take maintenance to make sure that, things are staying up to date. So these are all great pain points and common too. So let's move on. So with a project management system, you have clarity, more control of what's coming up, what your time needs to be spent on, organization, reducing decision fatigue. So you're not having to make decisions constantly and causing yourself, increased stress. You're increasing your productivity and peace of mind because you have a plan of how you're going to tackle things going forward, and you're working smarter, not harder. Better client experience because you're able to give clear communication on where projects are. It's a much smoother delivery experience and makes you look more professional. And then, of course, systems allow you to streamline, delegate, grow your business without having to work around the clock. So definitely a lot of positive things with adopting a management system. But let's talk about the actual reasons why some project management systems fail. So this is often because they're too complex. So I did talk about how that just having so many robust features and using so many different things. Sometimes when you go in there, you're like, I don't even know what I need to be looking at or what I need to focus on. So having those overcomplicated setups can increase that overwhelm instead of simplifying things. And then you kind of just don't stick with it or you don't want to be in there and grow that habit. No processes. So a system being built without any processes doesn't actually fix the issue. If you don't know how to use it and it just becomes a dumping ground, just like any other tool, you can, use a Google Doc for project management, and it can just end up being like you're just putting all of this information in here, but there's no actual set process of how you're going to complete these things. That is going to cause your system to probably fail and not help you. It'll probably hurt you more. And then, of course, when you don't use it, so not using it, not developing that habit and keeping up with consistency, it becomes another neglected tool that doesn't really help anyone. So um, let's look at how do we create a project management system that you'll actually use. So we're going to keep it simple. Best system is the one that you're going to use. So you want to ditch the unnecessary features and focus on what is going to help you in your workflow. Everybody's business is different, so it's important to customize this to make sure that you are using it in a way that's best going to support your workflow. You're going to want to make it relevant and aligned with your business. Um, it will be easier to set priorities and goals and all of those things within the building that habit of the project management system that you're using and using it on the regular if it's not something that's literally just a copy of what someone else does. If a photographer is using a project management system, it's going to be a lot different than someone who is in like the operations space or a business that obviously has a storefront or anything like that. So we want to make sure that the system that you're creating is relevant to your own business and not just someone else's. And then again, building it for you, customizing your setup to match your work style, whether that's automations, if you like certain visuals, making sure that you're using the flexibility of these project management systems to address your needs. A lot of people like certain views versus others. Some people like colors, and some people like it to just be plain black and white because they don't want that distraction. So it's really important to make sure that you are keeping that in mind as you're building your project management system. So first, we want to choose our software. So I know that some people have mentioned that they already have created a project management system or are already using a project management software. And there's so many different options to choose from. So I have put a few in here of what you can use for project management. But as I see in the chat, we have some people using ClickUp, Trello, Asana. I have had people use Airtable, which has great automations. We've had people just use Google Workspace. So these are all different softwares that can be used. And the reason why I like these recommendations is because there is a great simplicity and integration with most of these. You can integrate a lot of your systems together, and keeping everything, like I said, in one central place is very important in making sure that you're not task switching or software switching throughout the day. You're keeping everything streamlined and only looking or having to look at one thing throughout the day. So I know for me, I have my Google Calendar integrated into my ClickUp. I have emails flowing into my ClickUp. So all of these things allow me to, just work within my ClickUp and not have to be switching to different things and trying to find different softwares or different programs in certain places and all that. And then aesthetic and feel is important. I really like the interface of ClickUp. I also love the interface of Airtable because I just like the colorfulness of it. Obviously, you can kind of tell I like colors. And then pricing and scalability. I think all of these options are very reasonable in terms of their pricing. It's typically by member. So, or ClickUp, for example, and Asana, I know have. Actually, I think most of these have a free, like forever type version. So you are able to, use that and then of course scale to, more integrations or automations or whatever it is as needed. And just, getting started without committing to the software that you're using forever until you know that you're happy with it. All right. So the 4 steps to setting up your project management system. We're going to go through these 4 steps today and dedicate a few minutes for each of them. And then, of course, you have that workbook. I know Dana dropped the link in the chat. You have that workbook if you want to obviously continue your work doing this after our workshop here. And then, of course, you have my contact information if you guys need any assistance as you're going through these steps. But step 1, we're going to declutter your mind and do a brain dump of tasks and responsibilities. So really this process here is leading up to the point where you're making sure that your project management system is going to be set up in a way that you will actually use it in your day-to-day. So these steps kind of build on that. So first we're going to do a brain dump. Next, we're going to set our goals and priorities for this system setup. So whether if you already have that system set up, this will help you to kind of clear out the space that you need to make sure that it's set up in the right way. You're going to customize your space and adapt processes and workflows. So we'll talk about different options for making that happen. And then, of course, kind of the simplifying and streamlining what kind of automations and integrations are available and kind of doing, that research to see, okay, how can I connect all of these things that I use in my business so that my workflow is faster and more efficient so I can get more done throughout the day. All right, so we're going to start with step one. So this one is a 10-minute one, but we'll also play by ear. If you guys are good to go to the next step, I'm happy to just jump to the next one. But this first step, we are going to be talking about all of the tasks that are in your head that you like definitely feel like you need a system for, or you would like to potentially delegate one day, or you don't really feel like you have a full grasp on like the responsibilities or the deliverables that you need to put on, whether this is client projects that you're doing, your own projects, whatever it is. So go ahead and in the workbook, you'll be able to write down, there's a space for writing down in the Google Doc. And of course, it's a template, so you can adapt it and write as much as you want or come back to it later. But really, you just want to have an overall view of any personal tasks. I do use my project management system for my personal tasks too, which is super helpful in terms of like getting reminders for like bills that are due, or um, sports that my kids have for my calendar and all of that. If they have a field trip coming up and I'm chaperoning or anything like that, I always want to make sure that that's, on my calendar and even on for my business so that I'm not overbooking myself or anything like that. So don't overthink it or organize it. Just get it all out on paper. Some of the questions you want to ask as you're doing this is, what tasks and projects or responsibilities are you currently responsible for? What recurring tasks or deadlines do you need to track, or you're not really tracking and you want to make sure that you're tracking? And then what things have you seen slip through the cracks or cause extra stress on you? If there's like certain deliverables or projects that you've been working on that have been your extra stressor lately, put those down. What have you been putting off or haven't been able to get to? There's a lot of projects that, if it's not in your project management system staring you in the face, you are able to just keep pushing it. And you're like, I've been trying to rebrand for 6 months because it just never went into a task software to, hold yourself accountable. And then what tasks do you dread, procrastinate on, or forget about most often? So think about those, and then we'll move on to the next one in about 5 minutes. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat as you're going through this exercise. And feel free to also share what you're writing down. If there's things that, you think would might help somebody else. I know sometimes we don't think about certain things, like meal planning is fun and ClickUp. I like to do that. Um, and just making sure that you have ideas and you're thinking of all the different things that you could technically get organized in your project management system. And then when you're ready to move on, just feel free to give us a thumbs up in the chat, and then we will get to the next step. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes here. How's everyone doing? This is sometimes the hardest part because you just want to get it all out. Great. All right, are we good to move to the next step? All right. Okay, so step two is setting your goals. So now that you've kind of cleared the mental clutter, we are going to identify what your key priorities are, and how your system can best support your business growth and the places that you're feeling overwhelmed. So the next 5 minutes, I want you to set realistic and focused goals for your new system, whether it's you want to make sure that you have a place for staying consistent with like a content calendar, or making sure that you are marketing your business, whether it's client projects that you want to improve on. We want to make sure that you are using this new system to serve you in the best way possible, and that it is relevant to what you need right now. That is going to help you in terms of staying consistent and making that habit. If we build it from that space, you'll start to get in the habit of using it more, and then it will be easier to stay on top of it. So think about these things in these next 5 minutes as you're writing things down. What are your top 3 to 5 priorities in your business right now? Is it client management, content creation, scaling, admin tasks, hiring? What tasks or projects do you want to stay on top of weekly, monthly, daily? Where do you feel the most disorganized or stressed in your business at the moment? And then what do you want to achieve with this project management system? Better organization, time management, ease in delegating, or documenting your processes. Are any of those things top of mind right now? And if you do already have a project management system, think about what's not working, what's working well, and how you can improve on those things. How's everyone doing? Feel free to put either a comment in the chat of where you're at, how you're feeling as we've wrapping up step two. And then we will go into step three here in a second. Yeah, that's a good goal. checking it daily. Something that helps me do that is when I sit at my desk, I immediately like open that up first. It's very similar to like checking your email, or your inbox management, or calendar. It should just be like in that like habit of, okay, I check my ClickUp, I check my calendar, and I check my inbox as soon as I get started. That way you're obviously building that habit and getting into the idea that this is something that I need to prioritize and look at on the daily. I sometimes forget to read goals, my busyness, but early in the morning I'm working on. Yeah, I like that. I read my affirmations daily 3 times though. Yeah, and ClickUp does have an app. I know most of these softwares do too. So setting like those reminders or pop-up notifications or push notifications on your phone, that can be helpful too, in terms of making sure that you are getting reminded of, you could put your daily affirmations in there, of your goals this month or your focus for your business this month, and kind of having a theme in order to make sure that you are focused on that and concentrating on it as you're going through your day. All right, so we're going to step on to the next. So I put ClickUp in here as an example, but of course, all of these different systems or softwares can be built and customized in certain ways. So we're going to go over what are the things that you should think about when you are building this and customizing it. So the next step is to focus on kind of what the workflows that you want to build this around, and what you would like it to look like. So a lot of people have preferences in the way that they look at kind of their to-do list. So I know, Dana, you mentioned you like your calendar and that's what you really rely on. And so a calendar view is probably very important to use in a project management system. And Kanban is another one, which is when you're able to move things from like different statuses, and like the column Trello is very popular for that view. And all of these project management systems, most of them at least, have different types of views. So that's important to ensure that you're using the things that your mind likes to look at it a certain way. And so you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success when you're building these out. So some things to think about is the categories or folders you want to organize your work in. So some people like to do it like by department. Some people like to do it by like certain themes, like this is my growth sector. This is just like my admin such stuff, or you have a marketing and PR type of space. You also have client projects, and maybe your clients have a lot of things within their category. So you want to make sure that your client folders or projects are very built out. So you're following, the same process with each one, depending on the services that you're doing. Again, the views or layouts that work best for you. So if you like lists and you like to check things off, building it out that way is important. If you are more of a timeline person and want to make sure that you can see things kind of on a calendar or by date, you can do that. With timelines, you're also able to like see how things compare. So, you can make shifts ahead of time, so that you don't all have all of the projects due on this one date, um, or time during the month. And then, of course, boards where you can move things from one status to another, as you're going through a process. Think about the workflows that you find yourself repeating often. or needing to simplify or automate just because you are doing them so often. This can be in client onboarding, especially if you're onboarding a lot of clients and that's taking a long time. You definitely want to look into ways that you can automate that process and make sure, you know, clients are getting the follow-ups that they need, or lead inquiries are getting the follow-ups they need as they come in. And when people are signed, they feel like, awesome, this person's on top of it. Their systems are ready to take me on because, they're receiving emails when they need to be, reminders for upcoming things on their projects, or even just updates for projects as well. And then content creation, again, that is a big workflow that a lot of people like to use their project management system for, to kind of ideate all of the things that they want to make sure that they talk about in their content, and then building out, what that content's going to look like. Usually, with long form content going into short form content, and making sure, you're optimizing and making sure you have a repurposing workflow for content. A project management system is very good for that. And then really, how do you want to structure your daily, weekly, monthly planning inside your system? I know a lot of people prefer to have a certain type of list or way of checking things off. So we want to make sure that we're structuring it in a way that you feel will support the way that you like to work, your work style. So making sure that that is all built around the way you get things done. And feel free to share any of the kind of customizations or things that you would want to see in your workspace. If you do have like a preference for visuals, I'd love to hear it. Everybody's brain like works differently. I have ADHD, so it's important for me to kind of funnel all of that information into one place. And have that focus on these certain projects at a time. So I'm not, seeing 17 different things happening at a time. Um, and let's see. So I will show you. I'm going to take a minute to change my screen for a minute so I can show you kind of a base that I recommend. So I'm going to share this with you guys. Yes, I'll definitely send this out with the recording as well. So you'll be able to continue to work on this. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see. All right, can you see this click up here? Perfect. Okay, so inside here, you can see I have different folders for different parts of the business. So personal folder, so we have to-dos, to learn, to buy. So this is all things that kind of just pertain to personal things that I'm working on or goals that I'm setting and all of that. And then admin is going to be my all of my inbox management, calendar, on the business tasks, taxes are coming up. So all of those things I'm putting in there. With marketing, I actually will show you kind of a content management calendar and system that I actually were using on the Society Gal side. And that has been super helpful in staying consistent and planning out quarterly content. And then here we have clients. So I used to use HoneyBook as my kind of keeping track of my clients and CRMs and all of that. But I didn't really need to have that. So I just have client accounts in here. And then for sales and CRM, leads and proposals and all of that. And this is actually a template that I created that I help with all of my clients. So I usually send this to them to kind of give them a base to start with, and then we'll customize from there. And then I'll show you this content management system to kind of show you the different aspects of this. So for this, I really like to idea brain dump in my content. So I'll come up with something and I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I talk about that. And so having this form is super helpful. Sorry, my kitten is very excited to be on this. But this is helpful to just drop a content idea or something that I want to make sure that I put in there. And then I'll put like what platforms or type of content. So let me actually preview this for you. So you can see here if it's a podcast idea, a blog, a YouTube, website, content that I want to add, anything like that. And then kind of the date that I'm thinking for it, anything I want to, attach or remember to use when I'm promoting that. And then here is the content pipeline. So, like I said, depending on the type of visuals that you like or the way you like to work, some people like to have it where I'll just put a test task in here, where they have the ability to just move things as they're going through the different steps. So if we're drafting an idea, it's sitting there, and then, once it's approved to go live, if you have a team or something like that, then you can use that in this workflow. And then, of course, you can go back and see posts that were published, when they were published and went live, and repurpose that content for a different type of platform or form of content in there. And then, of course, a content calendar is going to have, kind of plan out all of your different content pieces on your calendar so you can stay consistent. Right. So I am going to switch back to the presentation. And how are we doing on this step? And yes, I can actually include the link to the template in my email send out after this. So that way you guys can, if you want to use ClickUp, you can use that as a base. Okay, I'll share my screen here. Perfect. Alrighty. Okay, so this part is where it gets a little bit technical, but definitely something that, if you're not really like in seeing like, okay, how am I going to connect, all of my systems or the current things that I'm using so that I can incorporate this into my daily workflow and make sure that my project management is actually seamless. So that this part, the simplifying and streamlining, is where that comes into play. So obviously, once you have that base built out, it's time to look at what you can automate, what kind of repetitive tasks you want to make sure, are set as recurring, so they are, constantly being popped up for you or can be taken care of. If you complete a certain task, it sends an email to your client to update them on that project status. Those are the types of things that you can look into as you're going through kind of your workflow and making sure that you are um, making it as streamlined as possible. So here are some of the questions that I want you to think about as you're thinking about, what do I want to automate in my daily workflow? So repetitive tasks that you spend too much time on, how can you cut that down? So is it the back and forth with scheduling? Is it sending reminders, following up on emails, building out tasks, documenting SOPs? If any of these things are taking, more of your time than tasks that are profitable, then it is important to address that and find a way to streamline it. And that's something that I do help my clients with is looking at, alternatives or ways that we can skip the, time that kind of dead time that you're using that you could be using elsewhere. So which tasks can you automate to reduce manual work? So auto assigning tasks based on the type of task it is, if you have a team, or if you are, setting deadlines for certain projects. So one thing I love about a lot of these project management softwares is that you can create task templates. And so if you have a project that you are creating or completing often, you want to make sure that you have a template for it so that you always have an idea of, okay, I have 5 clients that have signed up for this project, and this is the timeline that I have set for myself in terms of getting this project done. So you can have those auto deadlines for those tasks. And that way you are aware of your capacity and if you're able to take on more work or any of that. And then auto generating your reports if you run like advertising for your clients or anything like that, making sure that those get sent out on a regular basis. Some external tools too that you frequently use, you want to think about those and how you can integrate them. So, an example is your Google Calendar can be integrated with most of your project management options. So, your calendar can work in there and you can plan your tasks around the events and meetings that you have. You also have the opportunity to link emails if you want to make sure that, only certain types of emails get forwarded into your ClickUp because they have actionable items. You can do that. Something that I encourage everyone to do is to look into, if you are using a project management software, look into the type of Chrome extensions that are available for them. These are typically free and they are very nice to use within your email or your calendar, and being able to create tasks from these different softwares if you have to work outside of your project management system. So Slack, for example, if you're communicating with clients in there, does have an app that you can download and it's free within the workspace to be able to create tasks from just conversations that you have or reminders that you want to make for yourself. And then Gmail, for example, with the Chrome extension, you can click on that and automatically send an email that has an action item to create a task. It will have that entire email in there for you, and you can even delegate it to someone else, even if they're not in your inbox. You can delegate whatever that action item is, and make sure it gets done, and sent back to the client. You can also send emails from within ClickUp as well, which can make things a little easier too if you are delegating or you want to take a vacation, but you don't want to give someone access to your entire email. You can have your emails forwarded to ClickUp and then they can take care of that and answer emails from there, which is nice. And then just thinking about how you can make your system easy to maintain long term. So we always want to make sure that things are staying up to date. Like I said, if you are using this on a daily basis, and make it I guess, a non-negotiable in terms of your workflow, you are more likely to build it in a way that will make your life easier. So definitely think about how you can kind of maintain this and make sure you're keeping track of what tasks need to be put in there and all of that. And please let me know if you have any questions about this or if you have questions about what does integrate with what certain things. I'm happy to answer those questions as well. All right. So let's talk about tips for managing your system. So we've kind of talked a little bit about it here. So again, creating a daily check-in habit. So making sure that you're spending, 5 minutes to review your tasks in the morning. So nothing's catching you off guard. You're aware of what needs to get done that day. And then obviously rescheduling anything that you may not be able to get to based on, since life happens, meetings come up and you might need to attend to something like an emergency or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you kind of have an overview of what's going on that day. And then using automations to reduce your manual work. So as you're doing certain tasks, think about, is this something that I necessarily have to do myself, or is this something that can be done automatically, or I can schedule out. Bulk scheduling is a favorite thing of mine. I also love to batch content. So all of these things can help to make sure that, you're not spending time where you don't need to, and it makes your flexibility a lot easier too, when life does get in the way. And then, of course, having a time a month, even just scheduling a task where you're decluttering your system. So you want to make sure you're archiving any projects that are completed, reviewing any, necessary tasks that you're like, oh, well, this has changed, so I need to remove this task. This isn't something that needs to be done anymore. There was an update on this interface, whatever it is, to refine your workflows. And then you want to make sure that you are, again, staying consistent, so that you are using the system and it's more valuable and stress-free the more that you're using it, because you're adapting it as you grow. Okay. Um, I'm gonna do a Q&A here in a second, but I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out. I hope this was helpful for you, especially when I send these resources. I hope this will help you kind of kick off your project management journey. If you do run into any issues, I'm happy to assist. All of my contact info is down here. You can DM me on Instagram or send me an email, as you kind of work your way through this workshop and the workbook. And then if you guys are looking for someone to kind of audit your systems and SOPs, feel free to look into my systems and SOP audit. Um, This is designed to help you kind of identify where you have room for improvements. You'll fill out an intake form, so I am well aware of everything that's going on in your business in terms of systems and pain points. And then I will tailor that audit to make sure that I'm analyzing those kind of specific hurdles that you're trying to get through. And then I will deliver a full report with resources, templates, and all of that to make sure that you can implement some of my recommendations and a custom roadmap that will help you essentially take the next step to getting organized and stress-free in your business. So on that QR code, you can scan to learn more about that, but it's definitely been very valuable for my clients because they don't have the time to obviously audit their systems and build out a lot of these things to kind of get them in a place, especially when you're buried in the overwhelm. It's hard to get out of it. So I recommend it if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or need second eyes on your business. This is definitely a good service for that. All right, so open Q&A. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat.
I want a naughty girl. I want. Mommy, just find a naughty girl. I just find it a naughty. I've been stuck 1,000 years, waiting through the field.
Does anybody have any questions or any things they ran into as they were going through these steps? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Love to hear your feedback too, if this workshop was helpful, if there's anything you would want to see in the future.
Hey Heather, this is Katisha. Just wanted to say this was very, very productive for me because I'm trying to figure out structure for ClickUp for me because I've
Yeah,
only been using it for task. And then I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate it in my business.
yeah. What was
Marketing.
your business again?
So I'm a marketing consultant. I'm helping estheticians and med spas.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I'm trying to figure out how I can implement that in ClickUp where it's structured because I feel like I'm all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell me a little bit about like what services or deliverables you have. Just to give you a background, one of my clients is a marketing agency, and we work with med spas as well. So, I'm just curious what exactly like.
So I'm currently using systems. So it's between Notion, I have ClickUp. So I'm trying to like bring it down to like one because I feel like my
For
brain,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, it's just all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out what works for me. I've tried
Yeah.
Asana. That is a whole nother story. So,
Well, and that's so true because I have used Asana before and I don't not like Asana. I just for whatever reason was not a fan of the interface, and so that's
yes.
why I ended up moving over to ClickUp. I feel like ClickUp and Notion are very complementary. They
Hmm.
look very similar, especially like the whole doc feature thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I think the template that I'm gonna send you guys, that will be super helpful to kind of get you started. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about the deliverables you are doing for your clients.
So for what I'm doing for them is basically I'm their client customer advocate in a way. So basically helping them scale clients, attract clients, doing client retention.
Are they
Also
doing paid media or just like reaching out?
just reaching out
Okay.
to get clients for them for right now. I'm not really doing the promo part, but I will add that in there eventually.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just focusing on trying to attract them as a brand. So I'm creating a brand strategy for them, making sure that they're presentable enough for so that they can attract the right clients. And yeah, that's basically it what I'm doing right now. But yeah, it's just about structuring organization for me because I'm using Notion, I'm using ClickUp. What else am I using? I use HoneyBook as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's all of that in one, but I want to make it more, I want it to flow right because I'm also using HoneyBook to like send out forms instead of using it on ClickUp. It just
Yeah.
it's just easier for me so that they could just do the invoice and everything
The
in
contract and all
one
of that.
flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Have you created any like automations to like set off like a project workflow or anything inside ClickUp from like them signing a proposal or paying?
no, no, everything is just on HoneyBook. So everything is just straight from HoneyBook. I just wanted to use ClickUp in terms of for me and what I need to do in terms of my business, how I can manage my business. Like, say, for example, if I need to check emails, if I need to send out a questionnaire for intro calls, if I have an inquiry coming in, how do I, structure setting up the entry call form for them, the follow-up meeting, and it's just like that. That's just what I'm trying to figure out how I should do it because right now I'm just going off paper and pen.
Yeah, yeah. So, something, and the Zapier has a free like version that you can use, but something I would consider doing is and I did this with my clients when I first started when I was still using HoneyBook. So I actually had as they like signed the contract or purchased or whatever, I would have like workflows get set off. So like for example, they sign the contract and I know that I need to like get started on their brand strategy, right? Or I need to deliver something by the next like meeting per se. I would create a task template essentially of like kind of all the pieces that I want to be reminded of. So like you mentioned, you want to set the meeting or schedule a meeting. You want to make sure that you are sending them an email follow-up or all those like to-dos that you're like, this has to go off for every client that signs up with me, right?
Yes.
So you put that all in, say, a folder or a list, or even just a task with subtasks, as like a checklist to check off. And then obviously save that as a template, but you can have Zapier essentially when that action goes off, trigger creating that task for you and with that client's name and like those, that checklist to go off, which is super helpful in terms of making sure like that you're not like missing like things that you need to like do manually. Like you said, like you still have to do those things manually, but at least you have something that you can reference as like, okay, did I do this? Did I do that? Awesome, I can check these things off. So I would definitely recommend something like that, just so that you have a connection between the two, because having the like CRM separate from like where you're actually doing the work, like for your own business, it can be hard because you're like, I'm switching and like HoneyBook has that like task feature, but it's not very like in depth or anything. So I don't recommend using it as a project management software, but it definitely is good at what it does in terms of like making that like client experience seamless. So I don't know. Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, and in terms of Zapier, because I've heard that system before, is
Yeah.
it automated with ClickUp?
So it does integrate with it, yes. ClickUp has its own automations too, like like it's already built into it.
Mhm.
But in terms of HoneyBook, like HoneyBook also has automations. But the way that you like connect different softwares would be like a Zapier because it might integrate with the two, but say they don't integrate with each other, if that makes sense. So like HoneyBook doesn't integrate with ClickUp or doesn't talk to it, so it allows them to talk to each other. So it creates that connection for you, which, like I said, there is like a free version for it. So you can do like a one-step automation, like when this client signs or when I receive a payment, make sure that I send a thank you email or something. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm gonna include Zapier
Yeah.
into
Yeah, and if
Nice.
you have any questions or run into anything, feel free to reach out. I know like for me, like with the agency that I work with, we right now they do mostly paid media and SMS like marketing outreach. But we use ClickUp for everything in that agency. So I'm happy to you can pick my brain for
Yes,
that.
please. Thank you so much for all of your help. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. But anyone else have any questions? Make is also great. I will say though, make is definitely like a learning curve. Um, Latoya, you're a systems person, so like you and I would probably be like, yeah, make is awesome, but it is hard for other people to adopt. I think Zapier is a little bit more user friendly. I am also a systems nerd, so we're on the same page there. But yeah, make is cool because it is a little bit more complex in the way that it can automate things, but you definitely have to like take some time to learn the system. But I think that's all the time that we have for today, but we'll send out the recording. Make sure I send out that template. If you guys didn't download the workbook, be sure to do that. The link is still in the chat. And make sure you have that as well.
And just, did you go over the takeaways yet?
Um,
So some
oh,
of the
I'm
big,
sorry, I didn't see them. Oh, awesome. I love this. So just want to say that when I need to set up a new system, I always write it down. Yeah, I'm a visual person as well. Tech biz ops and digital marketing special loves management. And so this helped me a lot. I love that. That's awesome. And you said you moved back to Asana. Okay. Yeah. I feel like it's just like a preference thing. I don't think any one is better than the other. Awesome workshop takeaways. Building systems doesn't have to be complicated. Exactly. Yes. This is a great way to start my day. Love it. Um, use ClickUp for my back end is love building out systems. Me too. Yes. Yes. Let's collaborate. Yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram, DM me. I'd love to have a little systems nerd chat. We can do a live or something. It'll be fun. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm so glad that you guys got a lot out of this.
thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah,
This is
thank you, Dana.
amazing.